Also say welcome to the people who are just following us on the recording rather than being here physically. I'm glad to be with you. So we have moved past the vernal equinox, and that gives us more moments of light and less darkness. Every slow rotation and shift and tilt, we get a little better. Each day changes. Have you felt it? Yeah. Birds arriving, bears visiting. The damper is smelling again, you can smell it. The trees beginning to blush, getting ready to open up their leaves and flowers, chancing that promise. I think we can be like that, continuing to be hopeful and courageous, feeling our roots holding us here in this place. My name is Jenny Gelfin. I'm your service coordinator today. Our minister, the Reverend Dr. Leon Dunkley, is away this week, and we are honored to have as guest speakers today from the Ukraine, Lada, Kolomiyets, and Hanna Leliv. I probably didn't say their names very well, I'm sorry, but trying. On the back table, there are large print copies, both of the order of service and the hymns. If you're a guest today, I hope you'll sign our guest book in the back. And we tend to stay after the service, and I hope you will too. We visit with one another, either here in the sanctuary, downstairs at the coffee hour, or if you feel a need for air and space, out on the porch. So there are many ways to continue any conversations that begin, or to begin a new conversation with somebody. Let's see. If you have a device, such as a telephone or a page or something, please turn it off. Now you have to tell me your name.
Adrian.
Adrian is here to provide childcare today. So when we get to that point in the service where the children go, they'll be going with Adrian. There are many announcements in the order of service. They're also on our website, northchapelvt.org. And Mary would like to make a special announcement today.
So I have a question to ask you. Would you consider buying a $10 Powerball ticket if a trusted friend told you that only 20 would be sold in this particular $1,000 ticket? Odds of 20 to 1. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Hopefully you will consider me a trusted friend, so I have a secret to share with you. On the windowsills, you see 10 baskets for our auction. Only 20 $10 tickets will be sold for each one, so your chance of winning is 20 to 1. The value of the baskets range from $60 to $120. There are 73 tickets left for a total of $730 that could be added to our auction. The baskets alone are worth more than $10. And even if you don't want everything in the basket, I bet you have a friend who would like it. So don't you think it's worth taking a chance for a good cause? So please sign up online. We tried doing it in person last time with raffle tickets, and that was confusing, so please go online to our auction if you're interested in doing this, and we appreciate your support. We're at about 16,500 this morning, so we're hoping to push it up a little bit farther. And then I have a second announcement, and that is about coffee hour. So we're still looking for people who are willing to both make coffee and clean up afterwards, and cleaning up is a small job because people wash their own cups. So please see me or see Deb, who will be down in the social hall after the service. And next week we have a party for, farewell party for Chloe, and so if anybody wants to bring extra food for the party, that's fantastic. So thank you so much.
So, Many faiths, cultures, and families have spring traditions, and however you and yours are celebrating this warming, brightening time, I hope we can all imagine feeling a little more hope. March is International Ideas Month. I love that. Perhaps we can find some more compromises and solutions for the difficult issues we've been experiencing. For over a year, we've been singing hymn 159, This Is My Song, in solidarity with the Ukrainian people. I would like to acknowledge that all over the world there are zones of conflict where people are suffering, caught up in wars that they want no part of. And perhaps we can also include all the people who are suffering in this way in our prayers and in the spirit of this song, people who long to live their life in peace. Recently, I wrote a poem about this piece of art that you see on the altar. And after these words, we'll have a period of silence for prayer and meditation. Paper leaf, meadow of autumn grasses, lattice of stone, trees against sky, shows its silhouette, undulant texture, reaching, fallen, yet ever so alive. What one passes, another treasures, crushed, slurried, laid thin to dry, layered, quilt-like, specks and veins of fallen detritus, every part and the whole speak of constancy, delight, places in eternity, something bigger than we. Laura Foley's not feeling well this morning, but she sent her poem, which I will share with you. Dust of snow. I thought I was done with morning war, learning to savor a face full of snow from the shaken pine without remembering the water dripped on my father's head, his torture into a coma, surviving 4 years in a Japanese prison to become my father. In the same war, Stefan escaped on skis from Poland, across the mountains into Lithuania and then Russia, and became my husband. Now long since gone, this dawn after snow, as the new war invades my mind, the sun lights a thin white line rising from the chimney of a peaceable slate gray house where I live with my wife on a wooded hill, but see the smoke of bombed buildings, barely noticing how snow dusts from the arms of a pine, drifts like a beautiful ghost or an angel I wish I could send to Ukraine. warmly welcome our guests.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us. Today I would like to tell you about my personal experience of the very first day of the war, which was February 24 last year. And then I would like to read one poem that I recently translated. February 24, 2022 started for me like a proverbial morning from an English textbook. I got up at 7 o'clock to the annoying sound of my smartphone alarm. It was Thursday, and my day was supposed to begin with getting kids ready for daycare and school. A familiar, even if mundane, routine. I would sorely... Yes?
Can you just be closer to the mic? We're having trouble.
Sure.
Pull them up.
Just stick them up so they're closer to you.
Okay.
The other way too.
Okay, now it should be better? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I would sorely miss it in the next months. I have 2 kids. My son Sashko was 2 years and 6 months at the time. My daughter Kolomiyets was 8. Both of them were still sleeping in their room in our apartment on the 4th floor in a newly built apartment complex in Lviv, a city 1 hour ride away from the Polish border. As I switched off the alarm, I saw 3 missed calls from my mom. She never called me at 7 in the morning, and my first thought was that someone in our family died. I immediately called her back and heard the words I will never forget. "Anya," my mom said, "perhaps you shouldn't take kids to school today." "Why not?" I asked. "What happened?" "Haven't you heard about it? The war started." I mumbled something in response and pressed the red button. Then I switched cellular and a barrage of messages poured from all apps: Gmail, Facebook Messenger, Telegram. School and daycare were cancelled. Friends who woke up earlier texted to ask what Andriy, my partner, and I planned to do. An old friend of mine was laconic. "I lost. Now the answer is crystal clear. Last night he and I made a bet on when Russia would invade. He placed his on the magic number 2302-2023. But it was no time for jokes anymore. I pulled up the news and saw the headline I will never forget. Sometimes I still Google its archival copy from the comfort of my American apartment and get goosebumps on my skin. The headline, taking up half of the news website, said, "Putin launched the war." On day 1, we still equaled war to Putin. Those days are long gone. I looked out the window. Every single person I saw was walking with their head down, staring at their phone. A dozen people lined up to the filtered water dispenser. Then an air raid siren started wailing, the first one in my life. I would hear exactly 211 air raid alarms from February 24 until September 9 when I left Ukraine for the United States. I recorded one of them on my phone, and sometimes I listen to it from the comfort of my American apartment and get goosebumps on my skin. But back to February 24. What to do on day 1 of the war with 2 kids at home? First, Andriy and I told the kids there would be no school that day, and that yes, we got everything under control, which was a total lie. Second, we finished packing a grab-and-go backpack: passports, cash, power banks, diapers, granola bars, water. Third, when the second air alarm wailed, we met our friends outside and went together to the underground parking. The level of surrealism and absurdity went through the parking roof. Try explaining a 2-year-old why we sit in between the cars with a bunch of strangers. I cancelled my therapy session. I emailed my mentor from the translation program who lived in Amsterdam. It started, "Pray for us." Just yesterday, I emailed her, saying that the air in Lviv was so sick from tension you could slice it like a piece of cake. But surely Russia would not invade. Surely this could not happen in 2022. After the alarm was lifted, we returned home, and I spent the rest of the day reading news, texting, calling, emailing, reading news, texting, calling, emailing. That night we slept in turns for fear of sleeping through the air raid alarm. My shift was until 2 a.m., Andriy's from 2 till 7. In the morning we packed our things, stuffed whatever we could into our car, and left Lviv for a remote village in the mountains where Andriy's relatives lived. We would stay there for 3 days and move to my mother's-in-law in another village, an hour ride away from Lviv. We would return to Lviv in mid-April. We would land in Boston on September 10. I carry war inside me wherever I go, a pitch-black lump stuck deep in my chest. I'm a translator, and for the past year I've been translating everything that I could from Ukrainian into English, all kinds of texts, essays, articles, poetry, speeches. Just recently I've been working with the poetry of Artur Dronь. He's a young Ukrainian poet in his 20s. He worked for a large publisher in Lviv, but now he's serving in the armed forces of Ukraine as he's fighting in the war. I would like to share one of his poems with you today. It's titled The First Letter to the Corinthians. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, is not pompous. Love is terrified like a beast, but it perseveres. Love could give up and abandon it all, but it perseveres. Sometimes love has gunshot wounds to its legs, or bullet fragments lodged in them. Tourniquets squeeze love's legs, or it has no legs anymore. Then love's friends carry love. Love digs trenches and lives in them. It gnaws ice from the bottle cut in half when it gets thirsty at -4. Love takes up combat duty, gets into position with hernias, fevers, prostatitis, with blast injuries, asthmas and allergies, with the high probability of not making it back, with thoughts about the most significant one. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love can distinguish by ear the shots of rocket launchers, the strikes of mortar shells, and the movement of tanks. Love's eyes hurt when it stares into the thermal imager for too long. Love wakes up at night when the mice in the dugout crawl under its filled coat. Sometimes love vomits forlorn in the trees after a heavy combat. Every now and then it closes the eyes of its friends. Love wraps them up in sleeping bags and carries them away. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For sometimes the shelling is over, and friends close love's eyes, wrap it up in a sleeping bag, and carry it away. And then it passes to the living. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. I would like to share my memories about the first day of the war. In my childhood, I had the same nightmarish dream several times. It was the worst nightmare in which I heard the increasing roar of the airplane and understood that this plane was bringing imminent death to me, my mother, my father, all of us, because in a moment it would drop a bomb on us, causing a painful death. It was only a child's dream, a nightmare, but it turned out to be prophetic. I woke up to this nightmare in the early morning of February 24, 2022. We live in the center of Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine. It wasn't even the explosions of bombs that were heard somewhere nearby that woke me up, but the bright light in the room turned on at 5:30 in the morning and the soft voice of my husband. I'm sorry, I had to wake you up, but I don't know how to tell you about it. They are bombing Kyiv. We have to gather up and go. A familiar feeling of imminent death from my childhood nightmare paralyzed my will for several minutes and made my whole body tremble. Seeing this, my husband went to wake up our children, twin 12-year-old boys, and I heard him say to them, "Guys, pack up quickly. Take only the essentials, a spare pair of underwear and socks, and help your mom pack up." As it turned out later, the boys decided that the keys to our apartment and laptops are the most essential. And they deliberately took old underwear and trade socks so that it would not be a pity to throw them away, but so that everything new and nice remained at home. So we went to the bomb shelter with laptops in our backpacks. And I also took educational materials for my university students because there were to be online classes on that day. It was the last time we left our apartment on the corner of Hryshchatyk Street and Taras Shevchenko Boulevard, downtown Kyiv. We went to the bomb shelter to my husband's workplace in the northwestern district of Kyiv called Akademmistechko, where research institutes of the Academy of Sciences of Ukraine are located, because my husband works in one of these institutes. And there they set up a spacious bomb shelter with supplies of water and food for employees. When we got there, we realized that we were in hell, because fierce battles were being fought for the Hostomel airport, which was very close to Akademmistechko region. There was a heavy smell of burning in the air. Smoke was rising into the sky and explosions could be heard. My husband said that it is necessary to get to the railway station and try to get on some train going to the west of Ukraine. I didn't understand why we had to leave Kyiv, but my husband, who was born in Siberia and knew Russia, briefly explained to me, because the Russians will enter every house if they break into Kyiv and kill our children just because they speak Ukrainian. My brain refused to accept this. But as a historian of literature, I well remembered the lessons of history, in particular, how the assault of Kyiv by Bolshevik Moscow troops ended up in February 1918, when the Russian military killed everyone in the streets of Kyiv who was wearing a Ukrainian embroidered shirt or talked in Ukrainian. That day, we managed to get on the train. Then Ukrainian railway, called Ukrzaliznytsia, tried to take everyone, especially women with children. But we had to walk several hours from Akademmistechko to the station because the subway and all ground transportation stopped. I remember a stranger drove us to the subway in his car and refused to take money for that. We hoped the underground part of the metro would work, and it did, but later. While we were walking through the almost empty streets of Kyiv, we saw a convoy of Ukrainian military vehicles moving towards us. A group of young girls whom we passed by started taking pictures of them. I remember I couldn't hold back and shouted at the girls, "You fools, what are you doing?" Because the photos could show the enemy the location of our troops. While we were moving to the station, we met fewer and fewer people, only passenger automobiles. The hum of an approaching airplane was heard again, but already in reality. We sped up as if we could run away from the plane. The hum was growing from behind. Suddenly, an airplane appeared just overhead, so low that it seemed to be flying between houses, and even the pilot's cockpit could be seen. The plane seemed huge to me, but there was no fear. Instead, there was some intuitive feeling that it was a good plane. Even an absurd thought that the plane was protecting us flashed by. It was a Ukrainian plane that really tried to hide between the houses. And this plane was truly protecting us. It was piloted by one of those ace pilots who defended Kyiv and the Hostomel airport. They were able to circle at a very low altitude, hiding from the enemy and returning again and again, inflict devastating blows on Russian aircrafts. It was our famous Ghost of Kyiv, a legendary pilot who shot down dozens of enemy planes and protected my native city. Today, they say this is a collective image, that it is a myth created by Ukrainians. Yes, it was more than one hero. And the pilot of the plane, whom I think I could even see in his cockpit, because he was flying so low, may not be the only legendary ghost of Kyiv. But for me, he is absolutely real. And it was he, the ghost of Kyiv, who protected me and my children from death on that fateful day. And now I would like to read some poetry. I translated the poems of several Ukrainian women poets who still live in Ukraine, remain in Ukraine, and especially in the bombed out city of Kharkiv. And one of those wonderful poets is Natalka Marinchak, who, as I said, remained in Kyiv, stays in in Kharkiv, stays in Ukraine, and protects, in her own way, protects her native city of Kharkiv with her poetry, with her addressing to God. Instead of the Bibles and Psalters, we hold our telephones, which reveal to us all the signposts and all the roadblocks. And we pray, clutching a piece of plastic and metal, muffling our deep groans and recollections. In the middle of brushwood days, instead of bread and wine, we long for hardtack and drinking water. Save me and my freedom from every corner, from every scaffold, from every phone. Save me, O Lord, because I will stand here until the end, keeping the defense of this city, holding the shield over this place. Who are you, he asks, but I don't know what to say. I am the one who cannot sleep nor eat. I am the one who finds the light in places where it is dreadful to stand or sit. I am the one who collects oneself and goes. The one who loves too much this factory, this country, and this city. I would like to read some more of this wonderful, amazingly talented poet who is not known abroad. I'm the first translator into English of her poetry, so I feel great responsibility and honor to do this. Our embroideries are like notches red on a white body, as if the wounds cut by glass, by fragments of iron, by pieces of concrete. Look, right here is a little bird, bloody red, a shell hit. And my great-grandmother remembers it. Here's a stitch of black, such a long groove of the black burn of black sewing, my great-great-grandmother's black longing because of my longing. And over there, my roots speaking, above the slashed red, over the burnt black, as over a mutilated and murdered body, will plant the best, the most painful flowers. And I resist a while, then take a thread and a needle and start embroidering. Here's my land. This is my long roadway. This is a hill in flowers. This is the water we shouldn't have lost. This is the melted snow that we drank. This is the fire that gave us life. This is my blood reaching the old world. This is my body leaning over. Oh Lord, I will continue to be an embroiderer. All the pains my people have lived through are all strung on this thread. Here's a red mark of my unbowed will. Here's a black mark of my strength, and all my victorious flowers that can cover up both the earth and the heart with their delicate petals, thin shoots, soft stems, transparent coverlets, strong ribs. And the last one. Every night I say the names in prayer of everyone I know. Protect them, O Lord, give them full strength. Take care of Maxim, Sergei, Andrei, Artem, Oleg, Sergei, Sava, Alexander, Mariana, Anna, Maria, newborn Dmitro, sick Olena, unwell Alexei. Take care of them all to whom your hand can reach, of everyone for whom you are the last hope, and of Nadia, who is expecting a baby and whose name means hope. Take care too. Take care of them all. Do you hear me? A whole country of ripe names that should withstand, resist, and survive. Give them firm ground under their feet. Give them the strongest embrace, and those who will not surrender, give them. Let them be with these reliable ones. Let them not become prey. Every night, majestic walls grow out of the names, the walls of houses and streets, villages and cities. Who is there in our broken villages and cities? Anna, Irina, Horpina, they are no more there. What is there in our burnt buildings? There are toys left in the gardens. Whose toys are these? Sergei's, Yevgeny's, Maxim's, Tatiana's, Olena's, Sarah's. What is it under the stooped heavens? It is the last fear dying. Whose was it? Sergei's, Artem's, Oleg's, Olga's, Marina's, Maria's. Thank you. I have, if you allow me, I would like to read two more poems by another poet from Kharkiv, a very talented poet, woman poet from Kharkiv, who also addresses the Lord. Halina Kruk. Two poems by Halina Kruk. So all of those poems by Natalka Marinchak and Halina Kruk were written in the spring of 2022, after the full-scale invasion. And their poems don't have any titles, just pieces of poetry, all of them. Well, so Halina Kruk, all you can do is to say a prayer. Death may happen to make an error, not recognizing who is hers. Here she goes along the field paths. Her heart is rock dry, congealed in hardness, her sickle dulled. Unbridled grasshoppers are churning up, and summer unlocks the safety belts, but do not let this beguile you. Don't be lulled by the aroma of rustling herbs, by the abyss of sky, and above the shadow a bird, striving up and up. Those shadows and silences in the steppes are brief. Snuggle your body into the land you love, relieved. Past she goes, does not see, gone. Let there be someone to beg for you from death. Let a wounded grasshopper carry you away. Let it bring you alive. In the blazing summer, it crawled out of glow to those clean waters and wild grass unmowed, having lived through everything there. And one more, as I promised. And Jesus went up to the Mount of Olives, in the town of Bucha, in the town of Irpin, in the urban village of Hostomel, in the village of Motyzhin, and the urban village of Borodyanka, in the city of Chernihiv, in the city of Kharkiv, in the long-suffering city of Mariupol, and asked God the Father, let this cup run out on me. Crucified on a pectoral cross from the breast of an unidentified body. Anno Domini 2022. In a heartless world, heaven and earth are passing by.